I think I'm streaming. I'm never so sure though. But I believe I am. I'm just going to put the link on the old internet. And clear my throat. Now.
Okay.
No, I said now, not ow. I'm just talking to the internet. Good, good. And I can hear myself recursively. And the cat is meowing. So I think that's we're good to go. So let me make sure. Everything seems good. One more moment. Let's just adjust. And now, switching to screen share, which seems to be slightly off center. There we go. Okay, hopefully that works. Beautiful. I should really get a second screen. Oh, wait, I have a second screen. I can just open my monitor. It's too late for that now. Next time. Okay, to catch myself up and anyone else who joins here. What I'm doing is the following. I made a README, though the README I believe is just junky notes. Oh, it's not that terrible. Use some Markdown formatting. So, yeah, I'm trying to learn Rust, I suppose, because, yeah, its inevitability. And it's just another paradigm. I haven't done much low-level stuff. A new paradigm. I'm not a C programmer, though I've read NAND to Tetris once. And to Tetris. And I'm very curious about the lower levels to see how many turtles deep I can get. But I've mostly, I started in Ruby on Rails, for goodness sake. And then slowly branched out into Elixir and then Haskell and now Scala by way of Haskell. And yeah. So Rust is a slightly lower level domain, even though it has got type classes as well and doesn't force you to fully, puts enough guardrails on there that where I might get angry at the borrow checker, but I'm not going to get seg faults. So that seems like a nice safety, some safety wheels. What do you call those? Safety wheels, bumpers. It gives me some assistive devices that I require because I'm just not low level enough. Anyway, so I'm trying to learn Rust by building this silly little issue tracker thing that I believe I have an image of my really high-tech mockup. I do right here. So it's not actually going to look like this. So I made this CLI mockup in Figma. But you're going to be able to open up this, run this command, which I'm calling meld at the moment. And you'll see all your issues for whatever issue tracker you use, which will need to be configured somehow. And you can select them and either create a branch in your current repository for that issue and or open up a merge request for one that you've already created a branch for, which will push your code, open an MR, and cross-link it to the issue. And potentially, if you have the same issue being worked on across multiple repositories, by clicking that button, it'll find the other repositories, open up all the MRs, cross-link them to each other in the pull request or merge request description. So that seems like a fun amount of stuff. And since last time, I have explored just a little bit, just some rusty things because I was so ignorant that I had to learn some more stuff. And I'm there's some things I think are really cool, and there's some things which are pretty painful. But expectedly so when I'm sort of trying to use Rust to make a more high level application. Like I don't really need the performance of this in this case. The only reason that I've tried to use Scala for this in the past, but it's a bit of a pain to do CLIs in Scala just because of the JVM boot time, and you've got to either use GraalVM or Scala native, both of which give me problems. I don't support all the high level other nice Scala things I like to use, like Zio. But after doing this in Rust, I should at least have gotten a decent exposure and can maybe switch back to Scala. So what I did do was, as I mentioned, was I found a TUI library called Ratatouille, which seemed to be the most recommended terminal user interface library, and I just hacked together from some basic examples a bit of UI, and that looks like the following. I'll run it. I believe I'll run it. No, I'm starting metals now. No, I don't want to start metals. Now this is going to just all explode. I want to, there we go, run. My keyboard shortcut was broken. So beautiful. Issues. 1, 2, 3. Oh, now it's trying to build. Damn. Metals. Why? And so yeah, this looks not ideal. This doesn't look like my beautiful mock-up yet. I could try to change the colors, but I'm not going to worry about that too much yet. First of all, terminal consistency. Pixel perfect in the terminal is impossible to achieve because everyone has the different terminal color settings and fonts. So we're just going to try to make it vaguely the same. One thing that I don't love about Ratatouille is it's the fact that it really takes over your whole terminal. I kind of like the thing where it just integrates into your existing terminal and only takes as much vertical space as it needs. That's how I've made a terminal user interface library in Scala. And I've actually rewritten one privately that works in Scala native, but it doesn't take over your whole terminal. I wonder if I can show this. So I'm going to go into my, which project should I go? Neotype? It needs to be one that I haven't worked on in a while. And I think I have somewhere in here Scala update 2. Oh, it's going to explode. Okay. Which one works? Universal stage should work. Scala update. So notice how it didn't. Okay, first of all, it's analyzing a bunch of projects. And it seems to have done something a little weird where there's a bit of an. Why does it say loading up there twice? That might be a bug. But it didn't take over the whole terminal, for better or for worse. It kind of just added it at the bottom, and it grew vertically. I kind of like that, and taking over the whole thing. But Ratatouille does not support that. But yeah, this was a fun library to make, and I would love to keep working on this and maybe port it over to Kio or something. This is actually no, this is not using Scala native. It's using it's just a staged thing. So there's a boot time issue and a distribution issue. So hopefully Rust can make those things easier to just disseminate binaries to all the platforms. But yeah, I'll close that. Fortunately, I cannot bump Neotype to 3.4 because it's not the LTS version, and I don't care about M1s at the moment for Circe. Anyway, so yeah, that was a tangent, but so yeah, I'm using Ratatouille. I'm going to resist the impulse to rewrite it myself from scratch just yet. But I'm actually just let's take a brief look really quickly at some Rust. Let me explain what's going on here because I did this since last time. Bit of a boilerplate for setting up the terminal application. You enable raw mode, which makes it such that your terminal application can receive keystrokes as they come, because the default behavior is sort of that of a typewriter where it waits for a carriage return. So you won't get, if I'm typing in was Siggy this application would not receive any of that text until I hit carriage return or new line or something. But of course, I want to respond to up and down keys, so you have to enable raw mode, which is the crazy way of receiving every keystroke. And then entering an alternate screen is what doesn't corrupt your normal buffer, so it allows those full screen terminal apps. And then at the end, you're going to disable row mode and leave the alternate screen. So they're back to where they began with their old terminal buffer. But I like writing on top of the same terminal buffer and just sitting towards the bottom. Alas, not possible in Ratatouille. You can give it like an inline parameter, but you have to specify the height ahead of time, and I want it to grow, so no bueno. Anyway, I made this app thing, which will store, well, it was clearly based on their counter example, so counter is there pointlessly. I have a vec of issues, which is like a growable array. And I have this issue list state, which is something that you need for tracking your offset position in the rendered UI thing, if I can run that again. So that's necessary for Ratatouille. So I have my little app, and then the logic is kind of in this app. I can add an issue or add multiple issues. And this is kind of where Rust is a bit painful for doing these normal things, right? Like issues needs to extend into iterator. If you have any sort of trait, it needs to be introduced as a type parameter bound. You can't just sort of have, into iterator here. Or you might be able to, but then you need to use like a box wrapper and dyn and all these other crazy keywords. So if you want to do simple garbage collecty things, yeah, well, it's built for a different purpose. So I feel like I'm a bit fighting the system to make any kind of application in this. But anyway, that's okay. And I still have to get used to all the brackets. Like, this doesn't just parse immediately in my brain like Scala code does. Anything interesting here happening? Saturating subs and ends. Oh yeah, so this is another part. This is the actual rendering of the app. So I'm implementing a widget for my application, which is basically just like, oh, it's a type class to have a render method. Interesting design choice, but I guess it works. And you're given an area of the terminal size screen, and then a buffer, which is what you're writing to, sort of a screen buffer, particularly made for CLIs. So you can write text to the buffer or terminal ANSI code styles as well. And then there's some widgets that write to the buffer for you. So you kind of build a little, they have a UI library, so title from issue tracker bold. And I guess bold works because it must be converting strings into something implicitly. So string must implement something. And of course, it's implemented with macros. So that's fun. I guess string must implement stylize. I don't know how easy it is to see who implements stylize. Impl stylize for u, where u is styled item. Okay. So I guess then I have to see who implements styled. Okay, and then string is styled. And cool. Anyway, I don't fully understand all that stuff, but it can be a little tricky, as implicits are in any language to decipher where that actually comes from. I guess that wasn't so bad, except for the fact that it's a macro definition that works on. It's not hygienic. It's a little scary, but very powerful. And at least the code you get out of it mostly type checks. One thing I really hate is that inside of these macros, it doesn't really help you. You can kind of just type anything. I don't think you get autocomplete, which is crazy. Issue, like I don't get autocomplete here because it's inside of a macro, versus if I did it here, I would get autocomplete. And that thing that is really awful. I don't like that at all, to just be in no man's land. I love autocomplete. Maybe that's going away soon with AI. I don't need to worry about that. It can just write everything for me. I mean, I didn't actually write any of this myself. I mostly AI'd it, so who am I to complain? But it is pretty painful nonetheless. So yeah, not very readable. Make a title, put in this block thing. This block thing is this giant border that wraps everything. Not exactly, it's not obvious to me that would be called a block. And you can align the title in the center, and all the borders are existent and thick. juicy borders, and then I make an issues list to put inside of that block. So you make some kind of list out of a vec of list items, then wrap it in a block, and then it looks like it's configurable. So these must all be methods that exist on list, which appears to be the case. Yep. By the way, I'm just kind of rambling here and recapping for myself and you folks, 6 folks watching. If you have any, and one of those might be myself, maybe even 2 of them. I have no idea how this works. So if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat and I'll try to answer. Other than that, I'm going to add to this. So yeah, this isn't my favorite looking thing in the world, API-wise, but that's kind of just how you do it in Rust, I think, to circumvent cloning and whatnot. Like, I wonder, what does block take? Block takes a block. Okay, so, and there's no ampersand there, so that means it owns the block. It steals the block, which means if I refer to the block again outside of here, I don't think I could. First of all, I need to have a semicolon, but I think it's just sad. Yeah, it's been moved, you fool. And it's like, oh, it's just like a pure immutable value. But then this could take a reference to the block, but then you'd have to specify lifetimes and whatnot. So it all gets a little complicated. But anyway, so that's the widget. And the thing I was going to work on next, I guess, was the logic. I kind of hacked on this as well. So this is sort of the app logic struct, which will compose the issue service and the version control system. And one of those 2 commands in this mockup is the merge command, which I've listed here what I want it to do, which is to first make sure that the current branch is safe to push to the remote repository, so that basically all the changes are staged and committed. Otherwise, that would be confusing, possibly. And then it should push the current branch to the remote repository and recover from any errors. For instance, if you didn't do a git fetch recently and you can't actually push, it should probably fail gracefully at that point and inform the user what's what. Then it can actually create the merge request from that pushed branch by hitting the GitHub or GitLab API, and then it can comment on an issue with the merge request information. And so far, I have some stubs here. So this is the public-facing command that does all this, that will be called by the TUI code, I guess, with an issue key. I need a new type wrapper around an issue key. So an issue has a get key method that will return the issue key. So I was just kind of experimenting with new types, which they're super low cost. It really is just a string at runtime, which is cool. Had to do some awkward things. If you want to put something, I guess it's a kind of a best practice, but they don't just let you call toString on anything. You have to have an explicit display impl, and it can't be derived either. You have to really write it yourself. Or maybe use a macro in some situations to do that. But that's nice that you have to opt into that. Probably prevents you from accidentally printing things you shouldn't print. And I'm not sure if this is idiomatic at all. I just was mucking around. So it takes an issue key and it should create a merge request from the issue key. So the merge request title will be the issue key. And then, oh yes, twice, I guess. I want the issue description as well. In fact, I'll probably just end up taking the whole issue here. So I do want the issue itself. And then now that would be called get key, and this would be called get description. And this seems to be sad here. Trait objects must include dyn. Add dyn. Oh, this is where I would have to do something like I issue. Okay, that works. Good. I don't have to do dyn. I still want to borrow it, I believe. And this is going to be an option of a string. So I can want to say get or else, unwrap or else, I believe. No description. That seems to be sad. Do I need to convert this into unwrap or else? Clearly I'm not understanding unwrap or else. Oh, okay, it just needs to be it's a thunk. String? Okay. So yes, a lot of verbosity, which makes sense. It's not Scala. You don't get biname parameter syntax, and you have to discern between owned strings and strs, or borrowed strings, and I don't know. It's my understanding of it. And strs is a borrowed string, and actually, I'm not sure if I fully understand it. I think, yeah, this is one you own, and this is one you borrowed. And it's like a slice of a string. Probably should understand that more, but just calling toString when it gets angry seems to work. And this would be get key. And I've called these things get, I guess. I don't know if that's idiomatic or not. And then, yeah, now I need to pass in an issue here, so I should probably have this accept an issue. Ba-boom. And that seems to be sad because I need an ampersand. Okay, fair. Because I guess this clones it. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure. Should this? I don't know what's more idiomatic. Should I return a borrowed issue key, or should I just make a new one, clone it? I mean, it's certainly easier to, I think, clone it. I'm guessing that's what my implementations do right now. Yeah, they clone the key. But yeah, I don't know what's more idiomatic. Let me ask the AI. If anyone knows in the chat, let me know. Is it more idiomatic in Rust to return borrowed values from these sorts of things? Yes, it is more idiomatic. No! So yeah, I don't know if that's true. It's more efficient, yes, and I don't really care about the efficiency at all in this case. But just to experiment, I'm going to see what happens if I do that. And this is actually interesting because this is an option of it. Should this be borrowed or should the outer thing be borrowed? I don't know. And I'm getting some notification, which I don't understand. Anyway, things have broken. Type in trait to see. That doesn't seem like an error to me. And now everything is going to be broken, I think. Oh yeah, well this is first of all, this is in my test for the main logic, because I changed this to take an issue and not an issue key. So I'm going to make an issue. What kind are these? In memory, yes. So in memory issue. Memory issue. I mean, I think I can make a new one. I'll have to import it. Do I have new? I do not have new. So I will make a new method on this. Oh, it takes a key. Clearly this is unhappy. FNU is not a member of trait. Oh, yes, because I'm doing it in the wrong place. I would have to just make another impl. Another sort of strange thing. But I guess it makes sense. Then now that has to be borrowed. This has to be not cloned and borrowed. And yeah, super weird stuff. Just many options. Kind of reminds me, I'm sure, of how people would feel like coming to Scala for the first time, where everything is confusing. No, and an issue. There we go. And then this should be the issue itself. So far, so good. And I have a couple more errors here. Get title, yes, so these both need to not be cloned anymore. And I guess nothing broke. So that's cool. Okay, I was expecting something else to hate me, but I'm not really threading these types around too much, so I guess that's less cloning. This application is already so efficient. Unbelievable. Where's my logic? Logic. There we go. Okay, so I'm trying to basically organize this as I would a nice high-level Scala application. And so issue service and VCS service are required. And then there's this method that works on other high-level methods. So we're going to create the merge request for an issue, get the MR back out of there. It's using async await in Tokio. Yippee. I don't think this throws an error yet. I think I need to eventually make these methods return results for that to occur. But but I'm going to wait a moment before trying to figure that out. So it'll create a merge request and then link the MR to an issue. It'll get the issue key and it should call comment on issue on the issue service, passing along a comment, which is linked merge request to issue, and it will get the ID for the MR, though I believe I want to say get URL here. And I probably have to format that differently actually per service, because I think like Jira uses some crazy non-markdown formatting. I guess I could just have a URL there. Everyone probably parses a URL correctly, I would hope, and lets you click on it. But maybe that should go into some trait as well. So yeah, what I'm not doing so far is ensuring that the current branch is safe to push, and I'm also not recovering from any errors, pushing the current branch. I did also make a git mod jewel here, and I have some tests as well, actually. So the way this works is I make a repository, which wraps a working dir, which apparently has to be this path buff thing, an owned mutable path akin to string. Yes, akin to string. So just like a string is an owned mutable string, path buff is an owned mutable path. So I'll be instantiated with a path, but I will convert it. Oh yeah, and this is a slice of a path, akin to a string, a stir. Cool. All right. It's all, at least they're consistent. And it makes sense, I mean, from a very low level perspective, but at the high level, it seems like a discrepancy I do not care about at this moment. I've heard people recommend that you just clone and carry on, I believe is a sticker that they have. But I want to try to at least understand a little bit of what's supposed to happen. So instantiating a repository with a working directory, and then also one for just making a new repository at the current directory. I don't know if that'll work. I haven't tested that yet. Just didn't want to test these Git operations on my current directory because I did that before, and that's always fun when making Git libraries where you end up on some crazy branch and accidentally pushing it or deleting code when you run your tests. So run git command. Apparently command is built into the standard library, I believe, unless, yeah, it looks like it's rustlib. So that's cool that they have a little process type. So I'm running git, taking a ampersand array of ampersand strings and throwing those in there. And then you could set the current working directory or the current directory, get the output. So it'll execute that and collect its output, which is, all right, a struct, a standard out, and exit status. You can map the error on that because it's a result of output. Or error. Okay, I wonder what kind of error. Okay, just like the standard error type. And yeah, if it works, I succeed. Otherwise, I fail. So this one actually returns a result. And I think I force unwrap these things in some cases or recover from them. So I can get the current branch, list all branches, check out a branch, and create a branch. I do not yet have push a branch. So let me make a method called push branch, push origin. I probably want some more settings here. But maybe that's okay. We'll see what else I need. So yeah, let me go back to logic and actually see what we do need. So ensure the current branch is safe to, yeah, so I probably want to see if it has any changes. So ensure current, oh no, snake hiss. Ensure current branch is safe to push to. Oh wow, look at that. Do I have the ability to, I do, that's cool. That does not exist in metals for Scala. Generate, let's see where it puts it. It put it in the wrong place. I wanted it on this. Maybe if I do self dot ensure current branch is safe to push to. Will it do it in the right place? It does. Sweet. Cool. Yeah, I like that. Metals needs to add that ability. That's something from IntelliJ that at least works in Scala 2, and I really love that feature. Because it just lets you spec out some stuff real quick. So this should probably fail. This whole thing should return a result, and I'm not really sure how to deal with results yet. So how should this work? It should, I guess, call a Git service. So I need to add Git actually to this as well. Git. Actually, I guess I haven't made a generic Git service. I'm just using real Git, which I should probably abstract away. I mean, if this were Zio or Scala, I would, so I can have a test version and go crazy with it. But maybe I could just set up some circumstances. So repository, new, cool. No, that's not a new at current dir. That's definitely not a good idea. That will not let me test it, but that's okay. Get status. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm not sure how I can best parse out whether or not this has changes. But a good way of doing that would be to go back here and to make a method called has changes, and then to see what happens. Status porcelain.is okay. Yeah, maybe. And then maybe I can create a test for has changes. Let's see if that does anything. Hopefully that creates a Git directory and then makes some changes and asserts that it's true. Wow. Okay. Direct dir close unwrap. Sweet. So let's see what it did. It made a temp directory. I got the path. It made a repository at that path. It initialized something, and it's asserting that there are no changes. And it, does something. It should have changes. Does something and it has changes. Commits it. Should not have changes. Modify the file and check for changes. Yeah, that's pretty great. Does that work? No, it does not work at all. So at the beginning, it fails. So I'm just gonna create a chat with this and say, what could be wrong with my implementation of has changes? And I think it'll use the current file. So, and I'm also using the new GPT. So it's really crazy fast. It's almost like too fast. I kind of like the fact that with GPT-4 I can scan it and read it. It just dumps everything out here. So output is empty. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I thought. Like it's going to return some output. Yeah, it'll always succeed. It's just a matter of whether or not there's output, I guess. Show me some examples of what you think the output would be in different circumstances. Circumstances. I can't type lately. Circumstances. Okay, no changes, empty output. So that doesn't really seem to make sense with, unless they actually literally mean it's just a signifier. Okay, that kind of makes sense. Let's see. Let's test it. So I'll apply the changes. Close this thing. What did it do? Where'd the changes go? So yeah, it did not apply those changes. Come back to me, chat. Why did you not apply those changes? There we go. I must have rejected them or something. By closing the chat. Okay, so now I'll rerun the tests. And they pass! Yay! Okay, so seems reasonable. That's pretty cool. I should probably make some... Whatever, I'm not going to make this a industrial Git library, but it'd be fun to abstract some of these things for creating a tempter. So we can have lots of tests that make a lot of sense. I really do like the co-located tests. It makes it really easy to have tests and then just to run them from here. The test output when it's wrong is really terrible. I'm surprised at how bad it is. Like if I were to go to, where's one of my assertions? Yeah, so main, and I have to run. Yeah, so, oh, test failed. Okay. Jesus. Just uncolored and just tons of stuff. And then finally up here, oh yeah, I guess, oh yeah, main was not equal to main. I'm sure there's a library that makes that better. But I'm a little surprised that the built-in version isn't better. Does everyone use a library or they're just cool with that? I don't know. Cool. Anyway, so there's some tests. Where am I? Oh yeah, back to the logic. So now I can kind of check to see if repo has changes. And then I'll panic. Perfect. That needs to be a pub fun. I guess none of these are pub funs. Can I make them all pub? Pub imple? No. Okay, I guess that makes sense. I have to opt in at each one, so I guess I do want that to be a pub fun, that to be a pub fun. Pub fun, pub fun, pub fun. Okay. All right, eventually I don't want to panic. I would like to return a result. And I'd like to have custom error types as well, but that I briefly looked into that and it seemed like it would be a bit of boilerplate. So maybe for now I will panic and we'll work on panicking later. To do, don't panic. All right. Wonderful. So that was a lot of talking with not a lot of coding. But yeah, we're going to ensure that the current branch is safe to push to, which is pretty stupid. And then we're going to push the changes. So I guess in that case, I can reuse the same. Yeah, here's where I need to make this repository again instead of sharing it in some kind of service. I should probably just do this in one method, push to branch. Let's just do that. Push to current branch. And then I can repo.push branch. And I guess I do need a branch name, don't I? I could just use the current branch though. That's where I am. And this is another thing that's kind of annoying. You can't really do default arguments, and apparently they recommend against overloads or methods with different names, which I get because that would be pretty annoying if you have to. But I'm just going to do it. Pub fun push current branch. Ooh, push origin head. I mean, I think it'll just do it if you don't specify anything. Unless I've forgotten git, but that should work. Not sure how I'm going to test this. Without annoying myself. I guess I'll have to make a repo and all that. But yay! And that's a result. Run git command. Yeah, I'll just unwrap that. I'm sure there's some details to respond to there. So yeah, I'll push the current branch, then I will create a merge request, then I will link to the MR. Seems reasonable. So obviously there's a lot more to do here, but I'm not sure what the more fun thing would be to do. Probably would be to work on the UI in some way, which is all over in main right now. And it just does feel so painful. Don't really want to get into writing this. And the other thing I could do is make a version of both of my traits that are like backed by some kind of local storage, so I can test them in the UI and make sure that things continue to work. Make a real fake service. I'm not sure. Anyway, I might think about this. I know I didn't stream for long, but streaming is hard. Got to work up on my endurance here and ability to think. out loud and plan anything vaguely interesting. But I'm learning stuff about Rust, and it's a pretty good time. So, anyway, I hope this was enlightening. Sure, it probably wasn't, but yeah, thanks for being here, and I'll do it again sometime. But until then, yeah, take care, everybody.